What up, people? I've been living in Poland for 2 years now, and I've been to a lot of different places around this country. But there is one big city to which I have never been. That city is Łódź, which in Polish literally translates as boat. Yeah, blood's legit living in a city called Boat. Anyway, let's just say this city doesn't have the best reputation in Poland. There are like a shit ton of memes on the Polish internet making fun of it. Even under my last video, there were a bunch of comments telling me not to go there. But in this video, I wanted to see for myself whether the city is really as bad as everyone paints it out to be. We will go to the best places in Łódź, as well as those considered to be the worst, and decide whether it could be called the worst city in Poland. And so, I went to the train station, boarded my train, and started the journey. The train ride was around 4 hours long and cost me like €7. I'm sure Western viewers have shat their eyes out and are currently convulsing on the floor uncontrollably, but it really is that cheap over here. After enjoying a nice train ride looking at Polish fields, I finally make it to my destination. Alright, I have just made it off my train. I am in Łódź. That's how it looks. I'm somewhere in the outskirts, so it doesn't look like much, but I am going to go and find some kind of bus or tram to the city centre, and I'll see you there. The area I was in was pretty good looking, and there were no signs of this being some kind of awful shithole. So I've made it to this train station here, and wanted to get to the centre of the city, so I took the bus. Now, unfortunately, I was met with my first problem. I got on the bus and tried paying for a ticket at the terminal. The terminals looked like they were from the year 1964 and just would not work. Like, the screen simply froze at some point and I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to ride illegally, so I got off at the closest bus stop and started going by foot. I have the idea that when people talk bad about the city, they sort of mean something like this, right? So we have a road, which is made up of 20,000 different squares. Some unrenovated building, another building which is not renovated and pretty old. We got a żabka here, so I'm gonna go in, get myself something, and try to assess my situation and what I can do. And so I started my journey through the outskirts of Łódź, thinking that this might be a good opportunity to see how truly awful this city allegedly is. This looks very, very Soviet. The closer I get to the city, the better the roads become in terms of quality, and first impression, this city looks like any other Polish city, but it's as if it was given less money. As I walked around, I really struggled to find anything even remotely resembling the type of city I was presented with online. Like, it was a rather jagged, but otherwise basic city. So far I have not been shanked or shot or anything like that, which is already a huge success, I'd say. Dude, the amount of Polish flags here per square kilometer is insane. Like, Polish people usually put them out, but I've seen so many. They're literally on every building here. Jesus. At some point, I got pretty tired, so I went to have my lunch at the nearest park. Okay, I decided to take a little break in this park over here, because apparently you can't have shit in this city. Can't even pay at a bus terminal for a ticket, so you have to walk where you need to be. After having a lovely walk in the park, I realized that I should really try giving the public transport another chance, since it was still a very long way towards the center of the city, and the weather was very, very hot. Now, thankfully this time around, I actually managed to purchase a ticket, and got onto a tram to the city center. Alright, I've made it to the center of the city. There is like half a unicorn here for some reason. and a very big ketchup advertisement. Okay, you can definitely tell we're near the center of the city because there is Starbucks here. And I've also just noticed this shit. Like, what the hell is this Serbia-ass bullshit over there? I've never seen a building like that in Poland. I'm talking about that one, by the way. Yeah. What I notice as well is that, as far as all big Polish cities go, you hear more Ukrainian and Russian in the center than you do Polish. Polish nationalists, you guys can go in the comments and write your opinions on that. I'm sure it will be very, very civil, and damn, that's a very tall building. Don't know what it's for though. And I assume this is sort of the main street. This is like what most people talk about. Yeah, this was the Piotrkowska Street, considered to be the top one attraction of the city. Coincidentally though, it was also the most miserable place for me in the entire trip. It's essentially just a 2-kilometer street with some nice buildings and shops around it. Like, sounds nice, save for the fact that you can't walk on it, because the cars are still allowed to drive through it. And if there are no cars, there will be thousands of cyclists racing through the street. So, as a pedestrian, I had to clutter through the narrow corners with large crowds. So far, I really fail to see why this place is very special. Like, sure, the buildings here are more or less nice and renovated, but like, there are still cars around here. Like, I thought there would be no vehicles allowed, but for some reason they're still here. I try to be very careful recording around policemen, because I'm afraid they're going to come up to me and start asking questions, and then they're going to find out that I'm a Russian citizen, and they're going to be like, oh, he's a spy, recording stuff around here, going around, so yeah, trying to be careful, just in case. But yeah, they essentially just reduced the amount of cars on this one street, and sort of renovated a bunch of the buildings. And like, sure, that's cool, but I don't really see how that is very special. This is pretty common in Western Europe, with the exception that there isn't any homeless people lying around and there is no Morocco bazaar anywhere to be seen. But other than that, you know. After that, I was greeted with some truly appalling sights that everyone spoke of. Like, I genuinely have never seen anything like this anywhere in Poland. And I don't understand how this is right in the center of the city. These spots are not numerous, but they are there, and it's just really embarrassing. Anyway, after getting to the end of the street with a church and a monument, I decided on my next destination, Manufaktura. Another one of those top spots to visit in the city, according to the internet. It's essentially an old factory, which was made into this sort of mall area. I think that's the whole shtick. But right before I could get to it, a little interesting detour occurred. I was going to head over there, because that was my destination, but I can hear some... It's not really circus music, but some kind of instruments playing over there, so I'm gonna go check it out. Okay, I asked the person, and apparently today's the day of the flag. Of the Polish flag. I thought it was the 3rd of May, I don't know why. But I guess that explains why there are a lot of flags around, so yeah, I am stupid. Apologies. Okay, I looked it up and that woman looks like Hanna Zdanowska. I think that's the mayor of the city. So yeah. Now, I unfortunately missed the chance to ask the mayor of Łódź why the city is called a boat. I think she would have been the most qualified person to answer that, but alas. Also, for some reason, many people call the city Łódź, which sounds pretty stupid, but I guess that's still better than Wrocław or Krakow. Regardless though, after that, I made my way to Manufaktura. Let me flex my amazing Polish, guys. Miejsce, w którym obecnie znajduje się Park Staromiejski, było niegdyś częścią Starego Miasta. Yeah. Citizenship win? Jesus Christ, I don't know what this place is, but it's like an amusement park. There is a lot of people over here, Jesus. Now personally, I am not really into these sorts of places. It's just a super crowded area with a bunch of families and children, so I thought I'd just go in to charge my phone. Finding McDonald's though somehow proved a little bit of a challenge for me. Maybe because I myself am challenged. McDonald. I want McDonald. Kurwa, where McDonald? I don't need Ashan. Thankfully the story had a good ending and my dumbass found the McDonald's and got some ice cream. Overall the place was just a crowded mall, so not very nice to be in. Either way, I have bid that place farewell and went further on. Our next destination is probably the most important one for this video at least, and that is Stare Bałuty. Now, what is Stare Bałuty? I did some research online in both English and Polish to try and see which streets in this city are considered to be the absolute worst. And the general area that was coming up the most was Stare Bałuty. So if I wanted to see for myself the worst part of Łódź, I had to go there. Alright fellas, I am doing it. I am going into the residential areas of Stare Bałuty. This is the sort of region and place that people say is really bad and I should be wary of. But so far it's pretty chill. It's very, very neat. From afar I thought this building was new, but it's actually just a very well renovated commie block. You know, like a fresh coat of paint, new windows, and looks chill, looks fine. Walking around there, I realized that the time of year really decides whether the place looks nice or not. If there is a lot of greenery and it's sunny, it's usually fine. But God forbid if it's winter. Sorry fam, you're going on r/urban hell. Either way, as I was walking, the whole place and area actually seemed pretty nice. It was very quiet and it didn't look like some kind of dangerous shithole. Honestly speaking, if this is like the worst that Poland has to offer, then I think everyone can be very, very jealous of Poland. Okay, we are on the streets of Bolesława Limanowskiego, which is supposedly the worst street in Łódź. I will be very straightforward here. I walked through this street and I really did not understand what all the fear-mongering was about. Like, sure, it had some ugly-looking buildings in places, the regular Slavic sites, but other than that it was like, fine. The road did not have any potholes, and the rest of the buildings were okay. Like, I truly struggled to understand what was so wrong with this particular street and this city as a whole. Maybe to understand that I would actually have to live here for some time, preferably during the winter, but at this point in time, I would not go as far as calling Łódź a very bad city that people should avoid. I don't think I will ever be visiting it again, but it was an interesting time nonetheless. Thanks for watching, and cheers.